Now, treating these bipolar affective disorders, it's again a quite challenging working as a clinician or as a psychiatrist. It's quite challenging for the person to treat such cases. You are dealing with mania and you're dealing with depression on the other hand simultaneously. So it's quite challenging, but of course, if you have made the diagnosis correctly and you have found that it's not a unipolar affective disorder, now you can treat this condition quite well in such a state. Now you are basically in a position that you want to treat this bipolar affective disorder in a particular kind of a condition. The manic episodes are obviously, the diagnosis is again very important. The history taking is, as I've already emphasized on the fact that the history taking is the mainstay when you're dealing or making the diagnosis in the psychiatric department. The depressive episodes, on the other hand, they have their importance. And so to diagnose a patient in a depressive episode, it's again very important. How are you going to treat? There are a lot of different treatment modalities. In the lecture on depression, basically we have focused on the treatment of depression. So it can vary from just the counseling sessions to the medications to the use of the electroconvulsive therapies. So all of these treatment modalities are present to treat and get the patient out of that depressive episode. On the other hand, when we're talking about the phase of mania, obviously, the manic episodes, when we talk about them and when we have diagnosed the person, the treatment basically depends upon the fact that if the person is suffering from a state of mania or either it is a state of hypomania, depending upon the severity and the symptoms and the signs of the individual. Then we move on to the prophylactic medications. So if a person is prone or if he has the risk factors to develop that affective disorder, we can apply these prophylactic medications as well along with this. So the psychological therapy or the counseling sessions, they'll go hand in hand after we have started on with the medication. So this is basically the guidelines for the treatment of the bipolar affective disorder. Talking about the manic episodes, basically we divide these manic episodes subjectively or arbitrarily into mania or hypomania, depending upon the severity of the symptoms. So we have the acute mania at one hand, where we have the rapid symptom control, which is quite required. There's an admission to the hospital is the first priority that we want, because in a state of mania, the person can harm himself or even the people surrounding him. So we have to get the patient hospitalized as soon as possible. Then we'll move on to the patients if they're easily stimulated or if they easily get aggressive or agitated. Then we have to manage if the patient, we have to decide basically whether the patient has to be hospitalized or not. Talking about a patient who is in a state of hypomania, we basically depends upon the situation, which is much less of an acute condition. The mood stabilizers alone, they are considered, for example, lithium, and then we can also consider re-establishing the normal sleep-wake cycle, because the sleep cycle is again very important to put the patient down in a more calming and in a state of euthymia. So these are the treatment modalities that we have to consider when we are treating a patient in a manic episode. The temporary prescriptions of hypotonics, hypnotics, they're again very important, and obviously we can also deal with the sedatives and the hypnotics on the other hand. Then talking about a phase of mania, the combined pharmacological approach is done along with the mood stabilizers. For example, lithium is one of the mood stabilizer that is given along with the other pharmacological approaches. And then we can have the antipsychotic medications. If the person is going in the psychosis, we can consider the antipsychotic medications as well. Second generation antipsychotics, for example, olanzapine, risperidone, these are the drugs of choices depending upon individual to individual, basically, and case to case. And it's basically the subjective practice of the clinician himself, what he considers more appropriate in a particular case. So the hypertensive benzodiazepines, they're also considered, and the intramuscular medications are given in a lot of patients. Then we have the depressive episodes, and the antidepressants, they are sometimes less effective in a particular individual, and we sometimes switching on to the mania. Basically, it occurs in a lot of depressive episodes. The mood stabilizers, as lithium has already been focused upon, they're more efficacious in this stage of depressive or depression. Then we have quetiapine usage and the combination of fluoxetine and olanzapine. So these mood stabilizers, these SSRIs, MAO inhibitors, they're all considered collectively when you're treating a patient, because basically it is a collection of symptoms. You have mania at one hand and you have depression on the other hand, and you have to treat them collectively. So it's quite challenging for the clinicians at a lot of times. Then the prophylactic medications, they're also considered. Talking about it, we have the lithium, which is quite effective and is basically the mood stabilizer to maintain that euthymic state. Obviously, we have already talked about the fact that the person is in a state of euthymia 50% of the time, but still, we have to consider that lithium has to be given to sustain that euthymic phase. Then there's a long-term monitoring that is going on. The blood tests are carried out in a lot of cases. And the anticonvulsant drugs, for example, sodium valproate, or the sedatives or the hypnotics, they basically are added upon, and this prophylactic medications is sometimes given to maintain that state of euthymia in that particular individual. Then we have this second generation antipsychotics, for example, olanzapine and risperidone. So this combination of drugs of olanzapine, the SSRIs, the lithium that is basically working as a mood stabilizer, all of this is going to basically sustain that phase of euthymia in that particular person that we are focusing on. The mood stabilizers that we've already talked about, it's one of the states over here. So no place in the acute management of mania. When you are treating a person with the psychological therapy, he is in a state of euthymia. If he's in a phase of mania, you cannot even talk him out of that phase. So talking and that counseling sessions, they have no place when you are managing mania. Obviously, they have a place when you are managing depression. The role in the non-acute phases, the less central role than in depression, and the psychoeducation is again very important. One should know, and people should spread awareness about this affective disorder so that the close relatives or the friends can diagnose that disorder in a particular individual and can take that person for the medical intervention. If basically there are a lot of conditions in which the person present to you in a phase of dysthymia. Now, dysthymia is a condition in which there is a instability in the mood. The person presents with features of mania and with features of depression, but obviously they are less damaging to that person, and so they can be treated just by counseling. So after spreading the word and after spreading the awareness against this affective disorder, people will come up to the psychiatrist and will have that help needed by them. So this is again very important to make them aware of this condition. The prophylactic medications would increase that euthymic phase that we were talking about, and the patients need to be encouraged to identify the early warning signs. So in this section, basically, we focused on how to treat the state of this bipolar affective disorder after you have diagnosed it correctly. So that is the end of this section. Thank you for watching sqadia.com.